Hello, everyone. Welcome to MentorTalks. My name is Asha Bay. I'm your host from the Office of Alumni Affairs in the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs at the U.S. Department of State. Our office opens the door to grant opportunities, professional development, and the million-strong Exchange Alumni Network. If you're new to the show, MentorTalks is a chance for you to connect with Exchange alumni who are leaders in their field. Like our guest today, Ram Devineni, producer, filmmaker, founder of Radipalex, 5-time Citizen Diplomacy Action Fund grantee, and 3-time Exchange alumni. Welcome to the show, Ram. Thanks for joining us. And please tell us your story.
My name is Ram Devineni. I grew up in a small village in southern India called Eleru. At age 6, I moved to the United States, to New York City and New Jersey, where I grew up. I have been making documentary films and comics my adult life. And my exchange programs that I did is the first one, I went to Nepal, Afghanistan, and Pakistan through the University of Iowa's International Writing Program, and was sponsored by the State Department, where they brought a group of writers and filmmakers, including myself, to those countries to talk about creative art and exchange. The second one I did in Durban, South Africa, through American Arts Incubator, and I ran comic book workshops with students from all over South Africa.
Ram, after your first 2 exchange programs, you got involved in the Exchange Alumni Network. You've been to Career Connections, one of our professional development seminars, and you have applied for grants and participated in other events. So tell us, what is one of your favorite moments from these events and opportunities as an exchange alumni?
Well, I love to travel to exotic places and learn about new cultures. It seems like every place I go to, I end up creating something influenced by my exchange, and especially the culture and country that I go to. For example, when I went to Durban, South Africa to teach comic book workshops, I ended up researching South Africa's legacy of apartheid. And from that, it led me to understand segregation and slavery in the United States, and which then led me to create a comic book with my friend Yusuf Kumunyaka, the poet, called Jupiter Invincible. Jupiter Invincible is an interactive comic book about an enslaved African American person during the Civil War who is given the power of invincibility. And through that power, he has to go through many dilemmas and tries to solve different things and, of course, fight against slavery. It seems to me that every country that I go to, I get deeply influenced by it. I also love when I travel meeting similar artists in those countries and learning about what they do. We all seem to have the same problems, dilemmas, conflicts, issues, the struggles of being an artist. And that I find very refreshing and also empowering and connected.
That's amazing, Ram. And speaking of amazing, you have won 5 Citizen Diplomacy Action Fund grants, 3 of which you're the project lead for. And this year, you also placed as a winner in the Impact of Exchange photo exhibition, which is currently traveling the U.S. Can you tell us about how you hear about these opportunities and what prompts you to apply?
I follow the Exchange Alumni on my Facebook page. I also get their newsletter, and I love learning about what other alumni are doing in other countries. It inspires me and motivates me to continue what I'm doing. I also really appreciate the idea, or hopefully the skills that I bring to these exchanges can help the organizations in the countries that I visit. I can see an impact in what I do, and I hear the appreciation in the voices of the people that I work with. So that also motivates me to continue what I'm doing. I'm hoping my skills are valuable to the local organizations that I work with, and I will continue doing what I do because it's a fun and inspiring experience.
What do you like the most about small grant opportunities like the Citizen Diplomacy Action Fund?
The CDF grants that I've gotten have really had an impact on the communities and organizations that I worked with. And I hope that what I can bring to them is my skills, my expertise, and knowledge with that. I honestly don't think these CDF small grants are small grants because in reality, the impact you see is quite big. It's an immediate turnaround of the funds, and you can clearly see how this money in these community goes a long way, especially in small villages, urban schools, local communities, and organizations. It really helps out, and it really helps when they can leverage it and partner with other organizations and potentially get other grants within their country or through other foundations. And it's an opportunity for them to work with the State Department. For them, it's an ideal partnership. It has a lot of respect and it helps them leverage and become bigger.
And what advice would you give for alumni who want to apply for a CDF grant?
Well, make sure your skills and services for your local partners and organizations is useful. That, for me, is the most important thing. Um, when you travel to these countries, you need to be able to bring your expertise and make it useful and impactful. You should also help them leverage those skills and your ability to work with them to hopefully find more funding or partners. Um, and more importantly, you need to really prepare in advance. Work closely with the organization long before you arrive, so that when you get there, every day, every minute, every second is useful and impactful.
Thanks, Ram. I'd like to turn our conversation over to your career as a filmmaker, something you've won many awards for. What got you into filmmaking and what inspires you?
I'm a documentary filmmaker, and I've made films all over the world, from Ukraine, Afghanistan, India, Spain. And I became very inspired in making documentaries or becoming a documentary filmmaker after reading this book called Zen in the Art of Archery. And it's a book obviously about Zen philosophy, but it inspired many great artists in the 20th century, including the French photographer Cartier-Bresson. And after reading that book, I wanted to fuse this philosophy of Zen with the camera and have this kind of observant and very intimate way of telling stories with the subjects and the characters in the movies that I want to make. And also, I was very influenced by globalization. Globalization had a big part of why I wanted to make documentary films, especially in other countries. The ability to travel and to learn about cultures and learn about complex topics and issues, and to find really interesting and even quirky people to tell stories about is what really got me inspired in making documentaries. Um, and on top of that, my biggest recommendation I would make for anyone who wants to get into it is to really immerse yourself in every aspect of documentary filmmaking. It is one of those things in cinema, in filmmaking, where you can learn everything and be almost every position in documentary films. For instance, you should learn how to use the camera, learn about sound, of course, learn about editing. Editing is a critical part of documentary filmmaking because it really structures the story. Learn, if you can, um, how to produce, how to raise the funds. This is a lot of things to take on, but you have to understand documentary filmmaking is more of a passion than something economical. Most people who make documentaries are not affluent or rich, but they love what they do because the ability to travel and to experience and to be very intimate and close with real people. For them, that's what really drives them, and that's what drives me.
Thanks, Ram. That's great advice. Now, for the work you've done, you've also been named a gender equality champion by UN Women. What sparked your advocacy for women and equality?
It was a result of me creating India's first comic book female superhero, Priya. She is a survivor of gender based violence, and she flies around on a tiger fighting and empowering women all over India. And her creation was a result of a horrible gang rape that happened on a bus in New Delhi in 2012. I was in New Delhi at that time and was involved in many of the protests that were happening all over the country, and was inspired to create a hero, a female hero that could speak for survivors and challenge the patriarchal views that existed in India. And she became a symbol, a powerful symbol when we launched her, and became viral. I think over 26 million readers have read the comic book all over the world. And we've had over 1,000 news stories written about Priya, because she really symbolizes and empowers women in India, but not only in India, but in other countries. And because of that, the UN Women named me Gender Equality Champion. And I think Priya has the possibility of reaching cultures and reaching, because this topic of gender based violence is not just only to India, it is a problem all over the world. And that's why Priya, I think, has become a powerful symbol of that. Because of the creation of Priya, I had the opportunity and the pleasure of working with artists and organizations and other survivors in other countries to create similar female superheroes. For example, we worked with Natalia Ponce de Leon, who is an acid attack survivor in Bogota, Colombia. And together with her and other artists, we created Kaya, who is a representation of Natalia. And that comic book series was launched only a year ago with the support of the US Embassy in Bogota. And more recently, I'm working with the American Center and the US Embassy in China to create China's first female superhero, Princess Sue. And we'll be launching that fairly soon, and very excited to do so. So it's been a great pleasure being a gender equality champion and really seeing that this artwork resonates and tackles complex social issues, not only in my home country in India, but in other countries as well.
Speaking of other countries, you're currently in Bogota for your third U.S. government exchange program. And this project originated from your Citizen Diplomacy Action Fund project last year. Can you tell us about your current project and why others should participate in exchange programs?
I am currently a Fulbright specialist here in Bogota, Colombia, where we're doing this interview, and it's sponsored by Fulbright Colombia, and I'm working with the foundation Natalia Ponce de Leon. Now, Natalia is, who the foundation is named after, is a survivor of a brutal acid attack. And because of that, she then galvanized the public, the community, Colombian people to fight against gender based violence and to change the laws in Colombia about acid attacks. And I had the pleasure of working with her in creating a comic book superhero based upon Natalia's life. The character's name is Kaya, and I worked with several remarkable Colombian artists in creating the character, and we launched it last year, and it was supported by the U.S. Embassy in Bogota, and it was a big hit. It went viral, and really motivated us to keep going. And this Fulbright Specialist program allowed me to come back to Colombia and to work with Natalia and to take this project we did a year ago and expand upon it, which includes creating a curriculum, interviewing other acid attack survivors, other Colombian artists, teaching them how to use comic books to address social issues, and many things like that. So this is just the beginning of my Fulbright commission, and hopefully when it's done, the fruits of everything we've done will be available on social media. Hopefully reach out to news media here in Colombia and other countries as well.
Thanks, Ram. I wanted to revisit your work on Priya Shakti. Priya is the female superhero that started it all. You even partnered with U.S. Embassy New Delhi on a project featuring Priya. Can you tell us more about that project?
During the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, I applied to a grant from the U.S. Embassy in New Delhi to tackle the misinformation surrounding the pandemic and COVID-19. We got the grant and was able to produce a interactive comic book and a short animated film featuring my superhero that I created. Her name is Priya, and she's India's first female comic book superhero. And it was a really interesting opportunity to look at the pandemic through the perspective of women, and especially female frontline workers, because they are disproportionately unequally affected by the pandemic. The life and the risk they put in every day, going to the hospital, treating people with COVID, leaving their family, their children behind. So this was what was discussed in the comic book and the film. And the film featured several prominent Bollywood and Indian actors, actresses. One of them was Vidya Balan, Mrinal Thakar, and many others. And when we released the comic book and the film, it went viral all over India. But not only that, it did really well in the United States and really hopefully educated a lot of people about COVID-19 and its effect on women. And it was, we were really fortunate to do it. And the comic book eventually got translated into about a dozen languages, many of the regional languages in India. So it not only reached Hindi readers and audiences, but it reached people in southern India and other parts of India. So it was an exciting opportunity, and we were really loved doing it.
You successfully used augmented reality to reach wide audiences. Can you tell us more about using augmented reality?
Well, Priya is one of the first comic books to use augmented reality. We actually, when we launched the comic book in 2014, our first comic book had AR. And through an augmented reality app, you can see the pages come to life. Animation, interviews, documentary elements all come out of the page and makes the comic book into a pop-up book. And it was a really innovative idea at the time, it still is, of reaching young audiences, because young audiences love tech. And now you had a low-tech, a comic book, and a very high-tech element to it. We are still on the cutting edge of using AR. We've done augmented reality murals, street art, not only in India, but in Colombia, in other parts of the world. And we plan to continue innovating using AR and reaching new audiences and new people with it, and all the stuff that's possible from it.
Before we go, I'd like to ask you, what's your number one tip for people who want to apply to exchange programs?
I don't think you could take a dart and throw it at a map on the wall and say, that's the country I want to go to. That's a romantic idea of the long past, long before we had the internet and affordable travel and ability to explore. I think nowadays you have to really commit and research and learn as much as you can about a culture and a country before you do your exchange program. Try to make as many connections with partners, people, organizations, government agencies if possible, before you travel, and really make sure what you're contributing, your expertise, goes a long way when you get there. You should have a sense of adventure, let me say that, but try to prepare in advance as much as possible if you can. And when you get there, try to really enjoy and immerse yourself in the culture that you're gonna be with. Learn the music, learn the language if possible. That's something I find difficult, but I try my best. And it's been a blast being here in Colombia through the Fulbright Specialist Program.
Thanks so much, Ram. We really appreciate your time and all the efforts you put into this Mentor Talks episode. And we also appreciate the impact you're having with all of your projects. And speaking of appreciation, thank you to all of our viewers for tuning in and keeping up with our show every month. We appreciate you too. Are you interested in learning more about the impact of Exchange Photo Exhibition and whether it's coming to a city near you? Visit our website at alumni.state.gov. And if you'd like to hear more about Exchange Alumni news and upcoming events and opportunities, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and the platform formerly known as Twitter. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all soon, very soon, for our next Mentor Talks.